everyone, and welcome back to Maya's Reviews, a book podcast and blog where I review all types of novels. I'm Maya, and thank you for joining me for another book review. So, before getting started today, I do have two things to quickly talk about. As many of you know, next week, or I guess this week, because it's Sunday, I will not be posting anything as it's Thanksgiving and, I really want to spend time with my family. So hopefully, I'm hoping I'm on time next week, or not next week, the week after this week. So hopefully I'll be back then with a new episode and a new review. And the second thing I wanted to talk about, if you don't follow me on Twitter, I did post earlier about Dee Warner. So Dee Warner, who is 52, she went missing on late April 24th or early April 25th this year. Her family has been unable to locate her, and neither has the police. So if you have any information about her disappearance or anything related to the case, please call 517-264-5364. Again, that's 517-264-5364. There's more information about Dee's disappearance available in the two articles I've linked in the description. I've also linked a Crimeaholics episode where they discuss and spread information about her disappearance. But I know recently her brother has spoken out and her family has spoken out, and they really want closure with this. So yeah, if you can and if you have the time, please look at those articles. And if you have any information, like I said, please call the Lenawee County Sheriff's Office at 517-264-5364. Just wanted to put that out there because I did post about it on my Twitter, but I know some of you don't follow me on there. If you can, and you listen to true crime podcasts, anyone with a platform that will share about disappearances or people going missing, please contact them and reach out to them and let them know about Dee Warner, because she has been missing since April. So hopefully the police can find her and bring the family some closure. So hopefully it all turns out well, and hopefully you are able to share it with other people. So I just wanted to mention that really quick before I got into the book I'm talking about today. And I know it's kind of awkward transitioning from someone going missing, which is horrible, to discussing a book. But the book I'm discussing today is horrible. Not horrible like as in bad, but as in like the content is just horrifying. So today I will be reviewing Winterset Hollow by Jonathan Edward Durham. A huge thank you to Jonathan Durham and Credo House Publishers for providing me with a copy of this novel in exchange for an honest review. There are some content warnings for this novel. Death, violence, torture, animal cruelty, blood, and stabbings are all present in this novel. So just be wary of that. And before reading this novel, please be aware that while I try my best to disclose any potential content warnings for novels I review, I may have missed some. So please educate yourself on the trigger warnings and content warnings for this book before reading, as there are many violent scenes and some gruesome details. Overall, I rated Winterset Hollow 5 out of 5 stars. The plot, setting, characters, writing, and memorability were all 5 out of 5. Taking its rightful spot as my favorite book this year, and maybe of all time, Winterset Hollow is an immaculate mixture of good, evil, darkness, and light that had me hooked from beginning to end. Twisted and unexpected, I could not put this novel down until I knew the outcome of the horrific events that took place in this wonderfully mysterious and suspenseful novel. Winterset Hollow was published by Credo House Publishers on September 1st, 2021. It is 286 pages long and is not a part of a series. It is an adult fiction, mystery, dark fantasy, drama, horror, thriller, suspense, and adventure novel. The book's description from Goodreads, as always. Everyone has wanted their favorite book to be real, if only for a moment. Everyone has wished to meet their favorite characters, if only for a day. But be careful in that wish, for even a history laid in ink can be repaid in flesh and blood, and reality is far deadlier than fiction, especially on Addington Isle. Winterset Hollow follows a group of friends to the place that inspired their favorite book, a timeless tale about a tribe of animals preparing for their yearly end of summer festival. But after a series of shocking discoveries, they find that much of what the world believes to be fiction is actually fact, and that the truth behind their beloved story is darker and more dangerous than they ever imagined. It's Barley Day, and you're invited to the hunt. Winterset Hollow is as thrilling as it is terrifying, and as smart as it is surprising. A uniquely original story filled with properly unexpected twists and turns, Winterset Hollow delivers complex, indelible characters and pulse-pounding action as it storms toward an unforgettable climax that will leave you reeling. How do you celebrate Barley Day? You run, friend. You run. The novel first introduces the reader to a trio of friends by the names of Eamon, I hope is how it's pronounced, Caroline, and Mark. Immediately, I was struck by how real Durham's characters felt. It was almost as if I could envision them and reach forward to pat them on the shoulder. They were so real, and their love for one another and friendship was apparent, which made me automatically attached to the three. So Eamon is this traumatized man whose childhood first consisted of living in the woods with his seemingly crazy father, and then foster homes due to his dad's disappearance. I couldn't help but feel bad for Eamon from the start, for he had a confusing and, as I said, traumatic childhood. Caroline is a headstrong and lively woman who's dating the oblivious Mark, and while I love Mark, he is, I don't want to say stupid, but he's not the best in life or death situations, let's just say that. So all three are on a trip to Addington Isle, the island which inspired the book Winterset Hollow, which is a book that got Eamon through his childhood. And yes, everyone, this is a book within a book, so very exciting. And a little bit of a mild spoiler, I guess. Once the three get to the island, the reader is introduced to the characters within the beloved Winterset Hollow. Runny, a rabbit, Flackwell, a frog, Finn, a fox, and Bing, a bear. These four are adorable at the start, but crueler intentions lay beneath their surfaces. And while I love their characters, I also hate them at the same time. This book does a really great job at blurring the line between good and evil, and makes you see different viewpoints within good and evil, and it takes you through just this horrible history of death and despair, and makes you feel for the villains, and I really liked it, so I'm really glad it was part of the book. The depth of each character and their relationships is so thoroughly written and undeniably realistic. The creativity with which Durham has written his characters is unbelievable. Like I said, the depth of each character, the amount of layers within these characters is fantastic, and it makes them seem so incredibly real. It's crazy because the book splits. It's not like every different chapter is a different character. Rather, each chapter kind of goes through different characters' heads. Kind of, not without warning, but it just switches. And it's a clear difference between all of the characters. Like, you can tell which one's which because they're so well defined in this world. So I really, really love the characters. I'd have to say, besides the plot, the characters were my favorite part of this novel. And like I said, with my little quick review at the beginning, this book is my favorite read of 2021 and possibly my favorite book of all time. Like, if not first overall, it is tying with my first favorite novel, which is, I don't know, I have multiple ties, so, but I love this novel and everything about it is perfect. And so, before I start gushing about that, on to the writing and setting. Winterset Hollow is at first glance a fantasy novel that is light and jovial. However, underneath, there are many gloomy and disastrous layers that are peeled back and observed throughout the progression of the story. The atmosphere of the novel is similar to its writing and best described as fantastically layered. It's very dark, but there's also happiness to it. There's despair, there's horror. There's so many great aspects of this novel, and they're all kind of like layered on top of one another till you get to the very center, and it's this huge mystery just laying dormant the entire novel. One of the most important places in the novel is Addington Isle, which is the island that is supposed to be and is supposedly magical, wonderful, and beautiful. But like I said, there's layers and nothing is really as it seems. And there's so much darkness hidden underneath this facade of... Is that even a word? Did I make a word up? Whatever. There's so much hidden beneath the appeal of this isle that just makes the characters have to suffer through so much, and it really, really is an important place in this novel. Like, the majority of the novel takes place on this isle, but also what has happened there previously is so very important. Like, so important.
Interested in starting a podcast? I bet you haven't heard of Anchor, an app and site that makes it super easy to create your own. Not only is it free, but Anchor also allows you to make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Anchor distributes your podcast for you to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more platforms. Anchor has creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone and computer. It's everything you need all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.fm to get started today.
And there is so much to discuss when it comes to the plot of Winterset Hollow. Not only are there so many terrifying horror and action scenes, but there's also a string of mysteries that can be found throughout. As I've mentioned, Eamon and his friends take a trip to Winterset Hollow's place of origin, Addington Isle, home of the book's author, not Jonathan Durham, instead E.B. Addington. They discover that the characters they grew up loving are real and inhabit Addington Isle, and they're invited to join in the Barley Day Feast, a tradition of celebration for the Hollow's characters. But things take a darker turn as the history of cruelty inflicted upon the Hollow's animals comes back to haunt Addington Isle's visitors. So when I was first reading this book, I was like, ooh, it's getting dark. Like, this isn't what it seems. I can tell. This is getting... Like, I was like, I know what's gonna happen. I know it. And then Durham completely pulled my seat out from under me because it was like, wham, here's a completely different thing than what you thought. And it was like, oh, okay. I was pleasantly surprised. And... like, nothing in this book is the same as And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, but when they sat down, the characters, when they sat down at Addington Isle for the Barley Day Feast to eat, I just had flashbacks to reading And Then There Were None, and I was like, oh, stuff's about to go down. This is not going to go well. And was I right? Maybe. I don't know. You gotta read the book. But I was very pleasantly surprised by what happened in the book. And though it was dark as expected, it was a much different take of what I thought it would be, if that makes sense. Like, it was equally as dark as I thought it would be, but it was different than what I thought it would be like. Like, I thought, I don't know. I thought maybe the Eamon and Caroline and Mark were going to turn into the characters they most related to. Because there's this one scene where all of the visitors, because it's not just Eamon and Mark and Caroline visiting this isle, it's a bunch of other people too, which is really messed up because they were innocent and didn't have to suffer through what they're about to suffer through, but they suffered a whole lot. Let's just say that. And there's this whole scene where they're camping out and they're all like, this book means so much to me, you know, it got me through hard times, especially Eamon and Caroline. And so they're just talking about the characters that they really related to, that really helped them get through this tough time in their lives. And, you know, they're all naming off different characters, and I'm like, oh no, are they gonna turn into those characters, or are they gonna suffer the same fate as those characters? Because in the books Winterset Hollow, not the book I'm reviewing, the Bing the bear dies, I believe, alone, which is sad. And so I was like, oh no, is so-and-so who related to Bing gonna die like that? Like, are they all? But that wasn't what happened. And I apologize if you start to hear me go, like, to yawn. I am trying to edit all those out. Like, I have yawned so much during this recording. I guess it's because I'm really tired. I don't usually record this late, and later, like a day late than when I was supposed to post, so sorry about that. But I was pleasantly surprised by the direction that this book went in, because while I was equally as impressed with what I thought was going to happen, I enjoyed being surprised, because I was like, oh, I didn't figure out the mystery. Awesome. So I loved the darkness in this book. It is so well done. And then there's also, I have yawned so much in this recording. Like, I edited them all out, or I will edit them all out, but I have literally, like, every other sentence, it's me yawning. There's gonna be so much dead air on this episode. Jeez. Okay, anyways, I was just really happy with the direction it went in. Because I feel like too often I'm not surprised. Like, it's kind of predictable, a lot of the books I read. But this book was completely different than what I expected. Honestly, the description does not do it justice, because this book is amazing. I think what I was saying earlier before I started to yawn was that the book has so many dark aspects, and then there's other happier aspects layered on top of those. And I can't say much without spoiling it, is the thing, because I don't want to ruin any part of this novel for anyone. I really, really loved the themes in this novel as well. There's a lot of, like, undertones of we should be protecting our planet and we should not be hurting the animals that inhabit it. And because in this, you know, you hurt animals, they're gonna come back to bite you in the ass. So I don't know, there's a lot of undertones in this book that really are important in today's world, except they're presented in a dark fantasy, where animals may or may not be evil. I don't know. You'll have to read the book. But, you know, I just love, maybe the reason I love it so much is because I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know what was going to happen. And I tried to guess, but I failed. So I don't know. I really, really love this novel, and I think it has so many great aspects. Winterset Hollow is an unforgettable book that is impactful and deeply layered. I loved its twists and turns, characters, atmosphere, and horror. Overall, Winterset Hollow was a fantastic novel that I will never forget, and I will most definitely be reading it again because I annotated for I guess the second time, but this is the first time I've annotated a book and made it all the way through. I was like, it was funny because I'm gonna be sending the book I annotated to my best friend so that he can read the book and see all the things I wrote. Because a lot of it was just like, oh no, not him. Oh no, why is that person dying? Oh, this reminds me of this. And oh, I hate humans. And like a bunch of stuff. And I loved interacting with this novel. I think it was a great first novel to annotate and make it all the way through. So I really love this novel. It is excellent. And I don't think I mentioned it, but there is horror in this novel. There's a lot of death, and obviously death is horrible, but the way it was ingrained in the story is just, it blows my mind. Because I love watching horror movies. I love being scared, and this book scared me a little bit, and I was like, oh wow. And so I was loving reading this novel because it is genuinely scary. It is genuinely mysterious. You really can't tell what's going to happen next, and so you just have to keep reading. And so I could not put this novel down. Like I said, it's unforgettable and impactful. Durham does a great job of having a layered novel with believable characters and showcasing real life ideas that we should all be considering in a dark fantasy and horror novel. And I really, really loved it. It's bothering me because I can't talk about specific events in the novel and my ideas of symbolism and stuff in the novel. But I feel like a high schooler in English class right now. What does red mean? So I really encourage you all to read this book. Even if you're not a huge fan of fantasy and you're the idea of giant life-size rabbits or human-sized rabbits being really quote-unquote evil, you're that sounds stupid as hell. No, not in this book, okay? I promise you, it is not stupid. This book is so good. And I really highly recommend it. And if you have read this book or you are planning to read this book, please reach out to me and talk with me about this book because I would love to talk with you about it. Which is why I'm having my friend read it because he needs to not suffer with me, but he needs to enjoy this book with me and discuss it with me because I have no one to discuss it with. So I think that is it for my review of Winterset Hollow by Jonathan Durham. Like I said, amazing, unforgettable, fantastic. I love this book, and it's probably one of my favorite books of all time, and most definitely my favorite book that I read this year. So, I loved this book. I don't know what else to say. It's just phenomenal. So that is the end of my review of Winterset Hollow by Jonathan Edward Durham. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please check out my blog, Maya's Reviews, at mayagreviews.wordpress.com. You can also find me at Maya the Bookworm on Twitter, Goodreads, BookBub, and Book Sirens. I'm also on Tumblr at Maya Reviews. If you want me to review your book or want to come on the podcast to discuss a novel, maybe even just reach out to me, you can email me at mayagbookreviews@gmail.com. I do ask that if you are reaching out in regards to a review request, interview, collab, blog tour, or anything publicity related, that you check out my publicity request page on my blog first and then email me. Thank you so much for listening and happy reading!